We had all the highlights, and now we want to talk about especially the lacrosse highlights as we bring in Sean Patrick Bowley of Game Time CT. Welcome back.
Hey, how you doing? How did I become the lacrosse guy? Shouldn't Dan Zambanos be sitting here?
Well,
He's seen more games than I have.
He's the lacrosse guy too, and I know Mike Fornabayo.
And he
for you guys.
played.
He did play.
So I didn't play. Bring him in here. I'm just kidding. I'm glad to be here.
Listen, you're at a lot of games, and you're putting together the poll. Speaking of the poll, why don't
I
we
do
just
the
get
poll.
right to
That's
it?
right. He doesn't do the poll.
Speaking of lacrosse, the long poll, the short. Either way, let's go to look at the 6 through 10 of this poll because this is where we had some shakeups. So Wilton back in it. Guilford and Wilton actually tie at 9th place. And Weston moves back in there. Weston's putting together, kind of quietly putting together a really nice season.
Yeah, I saw them against New Fairfield, and New Fairfield smoked them. And I was
like,
well,
smoked everybody.
Right, you're right. I know. And I'm like, well, this team isn't good. So, I walked out. The next thing you know, they beat Guilford, which is that's a really impressive. I think it was 8-7 or 9-6 or something like that. And they did a really nice job getting the guys, and they kind of bottled up their all-American attackman, John DeLucia. And, that's a really big one. So they jumped back into the poll. So they were in the poll, and then New Fairfield beat them and knocked them out. So, anyway, they're back. And Wilton's back, too. All right. Here we go.
Old school.
It doesn't feel the same without Wilton.
and at the top of that 6th spot, Glastonbury.
Yep.
Which had a big win over Newtown last week.
Yep.
And then lost.
And Newtown is out of the poll.
And lost to Hingham, Massachusetts.
Yeah,
but then came back and won the other night.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, we mentioned them last week. Hazard and Tierney and the Turry brothers, Alec Turry and the Consoli brothers. I know them all by heart. So they got a big game against New Fairfield this weekend. That's a lot of big games.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, there's a lot of big games
because you've got that coming up as a big game, and then you've got another game with Weston playing. I think Daniel Hand coming up.
Yeah, they're playing at the Surf Club, and Hand just beat tonight. They beat Notre Dame, thank you. Really good defensive effort by them. They're not scoring as much as you would like. They have some good scores, but they're just not scoring as much as like. They've had some injury problems. A bunch of guys have been in and out of the lineup all year, so Hand really hasn't had a consistent season yet, but they're starting to put it together, so keep an eye on them for sure. But, they play Weston, so that's big at the Surf Club, and then we have some other game down in
Yeah, there's that little Darien New Canaan game coming up on. In fact, why don't we take a look at the poll as it stands at 1 through 5, because you see Darien Ridgefield is right there. In fact, I think Ridgefield's only loss in state was Darien, but New Canaan is geared up for this one. New Canaan with the tremendous win last weekend over Fairfield Prep, where the Rams were trailing and came back to beat the Jets.
Yeah, you know what? That was a big game where I wanted to see finally. New Canaan had just beaten Glastonbury the week before. And then they go down to Raftery Stadium, the best lacrosse facility in Connecticut. By far. Look at this. And who shot these? This is gorgeous.
It looks really good.
But look at that. That's Fairfield Prep. They are Mason Reale and the guys and Connor Boyle. They went up 4-0 on them. They took a 4-goal lead, and New Canaan just lost. All of a sudden, after that first quarter, they survived this little onslaught here. And then after that, it was all New Canaan. Once they started rolling, that was it. They couldn't stop it. And next thing you know, they were ahead by 3 goals. So,
by the way, if you haven't yet, go to Game Time CT and watch the interview you did, because Quentin O'Connell was priceless after that game where he couldn't talk.
Oh yeah,
right. He was.
Was that us or was that somebody else?
No, I thought that was you. Was that somebody else?
It might have been.
Maybe it was the Rudin report.
Mine was he was pretty straightforth.
Oh, it must have been the Rudin report.
Yeah, Diamond Dave.
Yeah,
Diamond. Good job.
well, what is there anybody out there outside of the poll? Anybody that you think can surprise and make a move maybe at the lower level? I mean,
all right. So I went up
at the top.
I went up to see. Yeah, the top teams are. It's really tough at the bottom. You see a Wilton team that's sitting there. They still got a losing record. They were 0-7 to start the year, and so it's been kind of musical chairs at the bottom 3, right? So I went up to see Summers because Summers is always in this final. They always play St. Joseph. Yeah. I've not seen St. Joseph yet, but I'm like, I gotta see Summers. And let me tell you something, Summers is good. They have that kid Riley Bergmeyer, who had one of those sweet, behind the back.
We had that the other day.
Anyway, they were down 3-0, or was it 3-1 or 4-1 to Conard, which is a pretty solid Class L team. Yeah. And then the next thing you know, it was 10-5 Summers. They just took off, and I'm like, well, you guys are fired up to get back to the final, aren't you? Like, man, this is a big one for us. I think they have another big one at the end of the season. But I love that summer. They talk about your small town. They call it
the tall pines. They have huge.
They call it the Cowtown lacrosse up there.
Yeah.
And nobody ever talks about them much. And they're like, we're so glad you're here. And I'm like, well, I got to see for myself this program. And listen, I think they're going to be one of the best teams to beat. They got all these Catholic schools sitting around in Class S. They have East Catholic.
So how do they not make the poll?
Well, because they're from Cowtown, I guess. But they're good. They got some good players. St. Joe knows all about them. They're anxious to get they won 2 straight titles, and then St. Joe grabbed it back from them last year. That's a great little rivalry. They got Cowtown versus the big city trouble.
You got something to write about, I tell you.
Good.
We're gonna take a quick break. We'll come back. Thank you so much, Sean. We'll see you next week.
All right.
All right. We'll be right back.